Well, we're busy. Like, you can spend less time doing that. It only takes me maybe 10 to 25 minutes to throw one of those reels up. And I think I mentioned that to you as well. And I just said, it doesn't have to be perfect. Done is perfect. It's just getting the message out there. And being yourself. I think people identify a lot more with people who are approachable and showing their true colors, kind of, right?
Hit it! That's what I'm talking about.
Wait! Okay, now, from the beginning.
Hit it, boys.
All right, this is Real Talk with Carmen Costa. I know, like, Chantal, I brought you on, and you're like, why am I here? What the hell's going on? I brought you on because we've talked in our previous episode. I'm like, Chantal's the one that I watched. I wasn't a creeper, because I know I said that to you, and you're like, you're not a creeper. But I watched you through the pandemic. I started following you. And people are like, well, she's like not like TCG. Yeah, so, right? We're all a part of the industry. And something you did say, and it resonated with me. And I'm like, you know what? She's right. You know what? Screw it. I'm going to have her on because she was the inspiration for me starting, Reels and TikTok, right? So I brought you on because talking to you, and I'd said this on our podcast, you had I had so much realizations when I was like, this is a man's world. You're like, well, it used to be, but now it's not, right? Now it's changing, right? And I wanted to bring you on mainly because, when you told me you started, you were like, you say man's world, I brought in Pink, right? And I'm like, that's awesome. She didn't even care. She was like, so I want to hear about, before we get into Reels and TikTok and all of this, I want to know, like your story, right? You told it to me and it inspired me. I was like, you know what? She's right. I don't care. My hair is pulled up. I just washed my hair. I don't care. I'm going to do a reel. I don't want to be, all this makeup, hair done, jacket. She's right. And I did it in the car. I remember your words resonated with me. I was like, my first one, you could see clearly my hair was just washed. But I'm like, I don't care. It was fun, right? And it worked. I was like, this is awesome. I got so much feedback because of you. So I want to know, when we started talking, you told me your story, right? How did you get in the industry? What was that about? What were some of the, conflicts you had, and how did you overcome it?
Okay, so I started in the industry in about 2007. I worked at one of the mortgage insurers as a co-op student, and I continued there for a few years. My mom was a mortgage broker already, so she had asked, once you're done working in the corporate world, why don't you get your mortgage agent's license and come work with me, and I can teach you my side of things. And I thought, okay, this will be a great opportunity. But then I kind of changed my mind and wanted to go into real estate instead.
Nice.
But when I was pregnant with my first son, I decided to change and flip back and go back into mortgages, following under my mom. And when I came on board with her, I kind of took over all her email addresses and said, we're going to just be known as the Mortgage Girls, the mother-daughter team in Burlington.
I love it.
And we're going to have pink folders. And when she's like, Chantal, no one's going to take, a 27-year-old serious with pink folders and pink brand names and all this stuff. And I just said, no, like we're going to do it. It's going to be fine. And so she just went along with it. And it was a little bit of a slower start because, like I said, it was kind of a man's world and there weren't very many younger agents in the industry at the time when I joined.
Right, I feel you.
Right? Like, yeah, where now I find that it's grown so much and there's a lot more diversity in the industry now. But when I started, it really felt like I was really young and in a man's world. So at first, I think it took people a little bit to get kind of used to, but as social media grew, so did the kind of, not as
traditional.
Yeah, not as
I
traditional.
Totally understand, yeah.
And then adding the pandemic and everyone kind of got bored at home and started doing these TikToks and Reels, which was kind of my situation. Like we went down to one income and just to kind of keep things fun in the house, why not try to throw on some of these videos? And then I started noticing, oh, wait, you can add value to these videos and people are commenting or liking or sharing.
Yeah, Jamie has brought that up. He's like, add value. I'm like, I want to be fun first. Like,
yeah.
I just want to have fun. And then maybe get into that. And you said that. And I'm like, I like how she started and the way she's evolved, right? Because looking at your videos from start to like now, I'm like, it's amazing, man.
It's similar, but you get more comfortable as you go. And the best part about it is you don't have to be showered, have your makeup done, retake like 10 videos. there's filters on there that can make your skin look flawless, and you can just do the reel from your,
I do have to admit she's right.
Like, well, we're busy. Like, you can spend less time doing that. It only takes me maybe 10 to 25 minutes to throw one of those reels up. And I think I mentioned that to you as well. And I just said, it doesn't have to be perfect. Done is perfect. It's just getting the message out there.
Yeah.
And being yourself. I think people identify a lot more with people who are approachable and showing their true colors, kind of, right?
I know. And what I liked, some of the things that you said in our conversation, which I mentioned a bit on the podcast, was you're like, I love women supporting women.
Yes.
Right? I know, and I talk about this, in this industry, I always found that it was hard to work with women. I always found that hard. I'm like, they think you're like, oh no, it's, my deal, my like, we all have, and you had said something, Jamie, we all have different clientele.
Yeah.
Right? So, I have my niche market, my clientele that I deal with, you have your own, right? So, what I did like was how you spoke on that and touched on that. You were like, we need to support each other, right?
It's not going to harm your business by connecting with other women who are colleagues in the industry. It's, if anything, you're just opening up the network connections with somebody, and you have a shoulder to lean on, a new friend. Like, there's so much pie in the world. Everyone gets a piece of it, especially in this industry, and as long as you work at it. So we can still support each other, because I think it's important that we do, to have more women in the workforce and doing well and at higher levels within the industry. And you get there through that support.
So true.
Yeah. So even me coming on this podcast, and I'm, actually starting a podcast with another colleague as well. We're going to be Momming and Mortgages, and just talk about the hustle of, working from home and doing mortgages with children. And we don't even work for the same center either, but we're all essentially colleagues working together in the industry. And it can be tough at times, and it's nice to have people to lean on and offer you that same support back.
100%. And I'm going to be honest with you. I've always, when I started in this industry, I found it like the competition wasn't with men.
No.
Like, I found that, do you realize that? Like, it was more about like the women in the industry. And it was like, I'm not your competition. I'm not here to compete with you. If you know who I am, I'm all about, okay, let's work together. Let's build a better, profession. Like, I want this to be improved. Right. I do feel like, and some things I wanted to touch upon today was, I feel there is still, it's an uphill battle. Like, we're constantly, we say, okay, we've evolved, we've done great, but there's always some setbacks, right? 100%. Right. And I know I'm not blind to it. Like, a couple of weeks ago, I was trying to sign up to a lender, and I've heard the lender's like, oh, they don't sign principal brokers who are females. I'm like, oh no, they will. Trust me, they will. And I got the pushback, right?
That's still happening?
It is still, I know. And that's what I'm saying. Like, the struggle is real, but I don't want a business partner, and I don't want a male business partner to prove that I can get everything signed up. I want to do this on my own. I'm more of the mentality that, if you're a like-minded individual, let's all work together.
Correct. I agree.
Right?
Yeah. And when you reached out to me about the social media even, I want other people.
Oh, so awesome.
Right. Like,
yeah.
The first thing I say is just copy exactly what I did and just put your face on it.
Yeah.
I don't care if you take my content, because it's not going to affect me. Like you said, I have my niche, I have my network, I have my client base.
I love it.
And that way you can build yours. And look, it brought me here to talk to you. And you never know down the road what kind of connections your network is going to bring you.
100%. I think it's awesome. I honestly, with the reels, I did watch, I'm like, I love how she just does it anywhere. Like, she just doesn't even, she doesn't care. And that's like, even when we were on a call together, you did one. You were like,
That's
it's
right.
like 2 seconds. And you were like, you showed me, and I'm like, oh, that is, and then I had fun with it. Like, I love acting them out. I'm like, this is actually fun. And my daughter dies. Like, she's 5, and now she's copying me.
My son calls me cringe every day. Mom, you're so cringe. Take that down. I actually was going to mention the one that you did that was a fail.
Yeah. Oh.
And you had food on your shirt and scratched. Awesome. Like, I just love that, because it shows your personality. It just shows.
I just want to make mention. I had done. I understood when you said drafts. I'm like, I get it. I have like over 50 drafts.
No, you don't.
And I just want to make
Keep
mention
it simple. Keep it simple.
But that one I showed everybody in the office. Everybody was on the floor dying. And Serena, the young one up front, like she's one of the youngest in the group. She's like, Carmen, please post it. She was like, post. People will look at it. Do you believe that's the most viewed one? I'm like, people kill me
The
out
one
there.
with the food on the sweater? You just gave me an idea of a reel for you because you go around showing everyone who works here. So
Yeah.
you can say like, oh, this is me going around showing everyone my reel, and you have that music in the background of like
That's such
people
a good
laughing,
idea.
and you're going around to each person in your office.
Oh, it's so we have a ton that we want to do together. Now I'm getting the team involved. I'm like, guys, you have to, we did the one. I don't know if you saw the group. Like, I can't believe.
Was it the dropping one to the ground? Yeah, my back doesn't allow me to do that. I had to skip that one.
I was like, we did it. And that one, how long did it take? Like 4 times before, and everybody kept screwing, like each group, there was one person, but the last group did so well. I'm like, what did you guys practice this? But it's honestly a lot of fun. I want to do it with my kids. I was saying, I see that you do it with your kids. I just don't like putting my kids on social media.
Yeah.
I'm like, it's kind of tough putting them on. There's no markings of my kids anywhere. Everybody's like, what do your kids look like? I'm like, if you're close to me, you get to meet my kids, right?
I'm an open book. I'm like, here's my life out there because
I love it.
Yeah.
No, and I do. And I honestly, I brought you on regardless where, we're both in the same profession. We're not competitors. I always say we're not competitors,
No.
like by far not. And I loved that first meeting. And I think I was in awe for like that one podcast. I kept talking about you, dropping your name, because I'm like, you don't get like a lot of people that portray as a competitor. They're like, oh, they're competitors. You don't get where they're like, they think different on a different level. Mm-hmm. And when you said that, you were like, copy mine, man. We're two different, like, you can use my content. I'm like, that's amazing. That's awesome. It's a lot of fun. I do want to thank you because I did start, I think it was 2 weeks after we talked, because I was like, she's right. Like, we were driving down to go get, I was picking something up, and I'm like, to my husband, we were waiting in the parking lot. I'm like, let's just do it. And my daughter was killing me. She was like, Daddy, you did it wrong. We did like 10 takes. Because of Zervain. I'm like, you're out of control. Like, you're making me repeat this, but we had it down packed, and it was a lot of fun. So I did want to thank you for that. I do want to say something. I do want to know, and I'm going to end with this, is if you had any advice in the world for, anybody that wants to start Reels or TikTok, what would the advice be?
Well, it's the simplest. Just start. Like you said, go in your car, put a filter on to make yourself feel a little bit better, and practice. It really doesn't take that long, and
it really doesn't.
You're
so right.
Yeah, nobody's going to be picking you apart. Just get your message out there. Start from the first one, and then by the time you get to the 100th one, you don't even think about it anymore. It just becomes very easy to do.
That's awesome.
And also, I find that it's a lot easier to do Reels than something like this, or a YouTube video, or like a live, like a Facebook or Instagram live, because those kind of put you more on the spot. Where like with the Reels, like you said, I have 50 drafts. You can keep practicing and practicing to make yourself feel better, right?
Yeah, it's so funny. I have to say, it's a lot of fun. And I'm keeping the bloopers going down. Bloopers are going down because I'm all about bloopers, and that was funny. So I don't know if it was food. My sister asked. I'm like, I don't know what it was. Like, shit, my shirt was dirty, and I noticed it was dirty. You know what I mean? Because you're doing it, and like you're subconsciously looking at everything around you.
But bloopers are sometimes the best part too.
Yeah, they are. They are. So, Chantel, I did want to thank you so much for coming on. It was, it's been a pleasure. I do want to thank you. My gratitude is at your feet for, having me start the Reels. You were my inspiration, and it takes a while for people to actually be an inspiration. But you were my inspiration. I did follow you, I think, for a year before I actually started.
Yeah.
So, but just your openness, your welcoming, your advice, you don't get that a lot, right? So I do want to thank you for that.
I'm honored. Thank you for having me.
No problem. All right. So like, subscribe, hit the bell notification. We are on Spotify. You can sign up to Spotify and hear us on Spotify as well. If you have any comments, questions for Chantel or I, comment below, and we will answer any questions. Thank you so much. Seriously? So annoying. You know how you look and people are,
Am I supposed to put these on?
Yeah.
What do they do? Why do you do this?
Okay. I don't. I felt that was really loud. Was that loud?
together rock this place.